Chapter 1: Digital Psychology Revolution. Your Mind in the Algorithm Age. Right now, while you're watching this, an algorithm just decided what video to recommend you next. It analyzed your viewing history, your pause patterns, even how long you hesitated before clicking. This isn't science fiction. This is digital psychology, and it's controlling your life in ways you never imagined. Meet Sarah, a 28-year-old marketing professional from Denver. Last Tuesday, she opened Instagram for just 5 minutes. During her lunch break, 3 hours later, she was still scrolling, completely unaware of how much time had passed. She missed her afternoon meetings, felt anxious and unproductive, and couldn't understand what had happened to her. Sarah isn't weak-willed or addicted. She's the victim of the most sophisticated psychological manipulation system ever created. Digital psychology is the science of using technology to influence human behavior at scale. Every major tech company employs teams of neuroscientists, behavioral economists, and data scientists whose sole job is to make their platforms more addictive. They study how your brain responds to notifications, colors, sounds, and social validation. Then they use this knowledge to keep you engaged for as long as possible. The average person checks their phone 96 times per day. That's once every 10 minutes during waking hours. You receive over 60 notifications daily, and each one triggers a small release of dopamine in your brain. This isn't accidental. It's the result of decades of research into human psychology, applied at a scale never before seen in history. Here's how deep this manipulation goes. When you see a red notification badge on an app, your brain releases the same chemicals as when you hear a fire alarm. The color red has been specifically chosen because it triggers urgency and demands immediate attention. The number inside the badge creates what psychologists call completion anxiety, an uncomfortable feeling that only goes away when you clear all notifications. But the manipulation doesn't stop there. Have you ever noticed how social media feeds never end? There's no bottom to the page, no natural stopping point. This is called infinite scroll, and it's based on research from the gambling industry. Slot machines work the same way. You never know when the next pull will give you a reward, so you keep pulling. Social media feeds operate on the same principle of variable reward schedules. The psychology behind this is fascinating and terrifying. When you don't know if the next swipe will show you something interesting, your brain releases dopamine in anticipation. This is the same mechanism that creates addiction to gambling, drugs, and other substances. Tech companies have essentially turned your phone into a pocket-sized casino, near the product being sold to advertisers. Consider the case of James, a software engineer from Seattle. He started noticing that his YouTube recommendations were becoming increasingly extreme. What began with productivity videos gradually shifted to conspiracy theories and divisive political content. James hadn't consciously chosen this content, but the algorithm had learned that controversial material kept him watching longer. The AI was slowly radicalizing him without his awareness. This is the power of algorithmic psychology. These systems don't just respond to your preferences, they shape them. They learn what keeps you engaged and gradually push you toward more extreme versions of your interests. A person interested in fitness might be slowly guided toward dangerous diet culture. Someone curious about politics might be led down rabbit holes of misinformation. The financial incentives driving this manipulation are staggering. The attention economy is worth over $600 billion annually. Your attention is literally being bought and sold like a commodity. Companies pay billions to advertising platforms for access to your eyeballs. And those platforms have a financial obligation to deliver your attention at any cost. Facebook's own internal research, revealed in the Facebook Papers, showed that their algorithms amplify anger, division, and misinformation because these emotions drive engagement. The company knew their platform was harming users' mental health, but the financial incentives were too strong to change course. This isn't about evil corporations. It's about systems designed to extract maximum value from human psychology. The sophistication of these systems is beyond what most people imagine. Modern AI can predict your behavior with frightening accuracy. By analyzing your digital footprint, your clicks, purchases, searches, and social connections, algorithms can determine your personality type, political leanings, relationship status, and even your likelihood of making major life decisions. Amazon's recommendation engine doesn't just suggest products you might like, it influences what you want by showing you items at specific times with certain colors and descriptions. The platform can increase your likelihood of purchasing by up to 35%. You think you're making free choices, but your decisions are being subtly guided by artificial intelligence. The psychological techniques being used against you have names and scientific backing. Social proof shows you what others are buying or watching to influence your choices. Scarcity psychology creates artificial urgency with countdown timers and limited offers. Authority bias uses expert endorsements and reviews to overcome your natural skepticism. But here's what gives me hope. Once you understand these mechanisms, you can defend against them. Knowledge is power, and psychological manipulation only works when you're unaware it's happening. The moment you recognize these techniques, they begin to lose their hold over you. Think about the last time you bought something online. Were you really in control of that decision? Or were you responding to carefully crafted psychological triggers? The customers who bought this also bought suggestions. The urgency of limited time offers. The social proof of reviews. All of these elements were designed by teams of experts to influence your behavior. The rabbit hole goes even deeper. Eye tracking studies have mapped exactly where you look on a screen and for how long. This data is used to position the most persuasive elements in your natural field of vision. The placement of every button, the choice of every color, the timing of every notification. Nothing is left to chance. Your smartphone's operating system is designed with what's called persuasive technology features, specifically engineered to create habitual use. The pull to refresh gesture mimics the action of pulling a slot machine lever. Push notifications are timed based on when you're most likely to be emotionally vulnerable. Even the vibration patterns are optimized to trigger maximum psychological response. But transformation is possible. In the coming chapters, we'll explore exactly how these systems work and, more importantly, how to reclaim control over your digital life. You'll learn to recognize manipulation in real time, build psychological defenses against algorithmic influence, and create a healthier relationship with technology. The first step in breaking free from digital manipulation is understanding that it exists. You're not weak for falling victim to these systems. You're human. These platforms employ some of the smartest people in the world, armed with unlimited resources and decades of psychological research. The fact that they can influence your behavior isn't a personal failing. It's proof of their sophisticated design. Sarah, the marketing professional we met earlier, learned these principles and transformed her relationship with technology. She now uses specific techniques to limit her social media consumption, recognizes when algorithms are trying to manipulate her emotions, and has reclaimed hours of her day for more meaningful activities. Her anxiety decreased, her productivity increased, and she regained a sense of control over her digital life. The journey to digital freedom begins with awareness. Every time you pick up your phone, every notification you receive, every recommendation you see, these are opportunities to practice recognizing psychological manipulation. The more conscious you become of these attempts to influence you, the less power they have over your decisions. Your mind is not meant to be controlled by algorithms. Your attention is not a commodity to be bought and sold. Your choices should be your own. The revolution begins with understanding, and understanding begins now. Chapter 2. Social Media Mind Manipulation. The Invisible Puppet Strings. Every morning, Mark reaches for his phone before his feet even hit the floor. Within seconds, he's scrolling through Instagram, watching stories of people he barely knows, comparing his life to carefully curated highlights. By the time he gets to work, he's already experienced a roller coaster of emotions: envy, inadequacy, brief moments of validation, and an underlying anxiety he can't quite name. Mark doesn't realize he's just experienced one of the most sophisticated psychological manipulation campaigns in human history. Social media platforms have mastered the art of emotional manipulation. They don't just want your attention, they want your feelings. Happy, sad, angry, jealous, proud. Every emotion you experience while using their platform generates valuable data and keeps you engaged longer. The stronger the emotion, the more likely you are to interact, and interaction is the currency of the attention economy. The manipulation begins the moment you open the app. The first few posts in your feed are carefully selected based on an algorithm that knows you better than you know yourself. These platforms have analyzed millions of data points about your behavior: what you click, how long you pause on certain images, which posts make you scroll faster or slower. They use this data to create what psychologists call an emotional profile of who you are and what triggers your responses. Consider the psychology behind the like button. This simple feature is based on decades of research into operant conditioning and variable reward schedules. When you post something, you never know how many likes you'll receive or when they'll arrive. This uncertainty creates a psychological addiction similar to gambling. Your brain releases dopamine not just when you receive likes, but in anticipation of potentially receiving them. The timing of these likes is not random. Platforms deliberately delay some notifications and cluster others together to maximize their psychological impact. You might receive no likes for hours, then suddenly get 5 notifications at once. This pattern keeps you checking your phone constantly, never knowing when the next wave of validation will arrive. But the manipulation goes much deeper than likes and comments. Social media platforms use what's called emotional contagion, the psychological phenomenon where emotions spread from person to person like viruses. Research has shown that seeing positive posts makes you more likely to post positive content, while exposure to negative posts increases the likelihood that you'll share negative content. Facebook conducted a controversial experiment where they manipulated the emotional content in users' news feeds without their knowledge. When users saw more positive posts, they were more likely to post positive content themselves. When shown more negative posts, their own posts became more negative. This proved that social media platforms could directly influence your emotional state and behavior through algorithmic manipulation. The Stories feature on Instagram, Facebook, and Snapchat is a masterclass in psychological manipulation. The circular progress indicators that show who has viewed your story tap into our fundamental need for social validation and fear of missing out. The temporary nature of stories creates artificial urgency. You feel compelled to check them before they disappear. Meanwhile, the platform is collecting data on exactly what type of content captures your attention most effectively. Live streaming features exploit another psychological vulnerability: our fear of missing out on real-time events. The red live indicator triggers the same psychological response as breaking news or emergency alerts. Even if the content is mundane, the live format creates a sense of urgency and importance that keeps viewers engaged far longer than they would watch pre-recorded content. The psychology of social comparison is ruthlessly exploited by these platforms. Every time you see someone's vacation photos, career achievements, or relationship milestones, your brain automatically compares your life to theirs. This comparison almost always leaves you feeling inadequate, because you're comparing your behind-the-scenes reality to someone else's highlight reel. Platforms amplify this effect by showing you content from people who appear to be slightly better off than you, not so successful that you can't relate, but just successful enough to make you feel like you're falling behind. This keeps you in a constant state of motivation to engage more, share more, and seek more validation through the platform. The comment sections are designed to maximize engagement through controversy and emotional responses. Algorithms prioritize comments that generate replies, and the most reply-generating comments are often the most divisive or inflammatory. This means that moderate, thoughtful opinions are buried while extreme viewpoints rise to the top, creating an illusion that the world is more polarized than it actually is. Hashtags and trending topics exploit what psychologists call social proof, the tendency to follow the behavior of others when we're uncertain about what to do. When you see that millions of people are talking about a particular topic, you feel compelled to join the conversation, even if you have nothing meaningful to add. This herd mentality is deliberately cultivated to increase engagement and content creation. The infinite scroll feature is perhaps the most insidious manipulation tool. By removing natural stopping points, platforms eliminate the psychological cues that would normally signal the end of an activity. In the physical world, reaching the end of a magazine or newspaper provides closure. Online, there is no end, just an endless stream of content designed to keep you scrolling forever. This endless scroll is combined with what's called intermittent variable reinforcement, occasionally showing you something genuinely interesting or relevant among mostly mediocre content. This pattern is identical to the psychological mechanisms that make gambling addictive. You keep scrolling because you never know when the next scroll will reveal something worth your attention. Push notifications are weaponized to exploit your psychological vulnerabilities at your weakest moments. These platforms use machine learning to identify when you're most likely to be bored, lonely, or seeking distraction. They then send notifications precisely timed to capture you during these vulnerable states. The notification might be trivial. Someone liked a photo from 2 years ago. But it arrives exactly when you're most susceptible to digital distraction. The psychology of streaks in Snapchat creates artificial commitment and obligation. Once you've maintained a streak with someone for several days, breaking it feels like a personal failure. This feature transforms casual communication into a compulsive daily ritual, ensuring that users open the app every single day, regardless of whether they actually want to communicate. Social media platforms also exploit what psychologists call the paradox of choice. While having options usually makes people happier, too many options create anxiety and decision paralysis. These platforms present you with unlimited content options, creating a constant feeling that you might be missing something better if you stop scrolling now. The people you may know feature seems helpful, but is actually a sophisticated surveillance tool. These platforms analyze your contact list, location data, browsing history, and social connections to suggest people. They even track when you spend time in the same physical locations as other users. This feature is designed to make the platform feel omniscient and essential to your social life. Beauty filters and photo editing tools exploit insecurities about physical appearance while simultaneously creating new ones. These tools set impossible standards of perfection, while providing the means to achieve those standards digitally. Users become addicted to the validation they receive when using filters, while simultaneously feeling inadequate when comparing themselves to filtered images from others. The platform's algorithm learns from your emotional responses and gradually shifts your feed to include more content that generates strong emotional reactions. If you frequently engage with content that makes you angry, you'll see more anger-inducing posts. If you often interact with content that makes you feel inadequate, the algorithm will serve you more of the same. Over time, your feed becomes an emotional manipulation machine, perfectly calibrated to your psychological vulnerabilities. Social media platforms have also gamified social interaction through features like reaction buttons, story views, and follower counts. These metrics transform natural human connection into a competitive game where your social worth is quantified and displayed publicly. This gamification creates anxiety, compulsive checking behaviors, and a constant need to perform for an invisible audience. The platforms deliberately make it difficult to control what you see. While they offer customization options, these features are buried in complex settings, menus that most users never access. The default experience is designed to maximize engagement, not user satisfaction. The algorithms are optimized for addiction, not for your well-being or happiness. But here's the crucial point. None of this manipulation is accidental. Every feature, every algorithm, every design choice has been tested and optimized to maximize the time you spend on the platform and the emotional intensity of your engagement. Teams of neuroscientists, behavioral economists, and data scientists work full-time to make these platforms more addictive and emotionally manipulative. Understanding these mechanisms is the first step toward freedom. When you recognize that your emotional responses are being deliberately triggered and manipulated, you can begin to separate your authentic feelings from manufactured ones. You can start to see the strings that have been pulling you and begin to cut them one by one. The goal isn't to make you paranoid about technology, but to make you conscious of how it's designed to control your behavior. Once you understand the game being played, you can choose whether or not to participate. Your emotions, your time, and your attention belong to you, not to algorithms designed to extract maximum profit from your psychological vulnerabilities. Chapter 3. Attention Economy Warfare. How they steal your focus. Rachel sits at her desk trying to finish an important presentation that's due in 3 hours. Her phone buzzes with a news alert. She glances at it quickly, just to see if it's important. 20 minutes later, she's deep in a rabbit hole of articles about a celebrity scandal, completely forgetting about her deadline. This scenario repeats itself throughout her day. By evening, she's stressed, behind on work, and can't understand where her time went. Rachel is a casualty in the attention economy warfare, and she doesn't even know she's under attack. Your attention has become the most valuable commodity in the modern economy. Technology companies, media organizations, advertisers, and content creators are all fighting an invisible war for the most precious resource you possess, your focused awareness. They've weaponized psychology, neuroscience, and artificial intelligence to capture and monetize every second of your mental energy. The attention economy operates on a simple principle. Whoever can capture and hold human attention longest wins. This has created an arms race where platforms compete to be more distracting, more addictive, and more irresistible than their competitors. Every notification, every autoplay video, every breaking news alert is a weapon in this war for your mind. Consider how news organizations have adapted to this battlefield. Traditional journalism aimed to inform the public with accurate, well-researched reporting. Modern digital journalism is optimized for clicks, shares, and engagement. Headlines are crafted not to accurately summarize the content, but to trigger curiosity, fear, anger, or outrage, emotions that compel immediate clicking. The phrase clickbait has become commonplace, but few people understand the sophisticated psychology behind it. These headlines exploit what researchers call curiosity gaps. They provide just enough information to create questions in your mind while withholding the answers. Your brain experiences genuine discomfort when facing unresolved curiosity. And clicking becomes the only way to relieve this psychological tension. Breaking news alerts have transformed from genuine emergency communications into attention-grabbing marketing tools. Your phone treats a celebrity gossip update with the same urgency as a natural disaster warning. This deliberate confusion between important and trivial information creates a state of constant vigilance, keeping you perpetually on edge and ready to check your device at any moment. The psychology of urgency is ruthlessly exploited across all digital platforms. Limited time offers, disappearing content, live streams, countdown timers all trigger what psychologists call loss aversion, the fear that you might miss out on something valuable. This artificial scarcity creates anxiety that can only be relieved by immediate engagement with the platform. Autoplay features represent one of the most aggressive attention capture mechanisms ever deployed. When a video ends and another begins automatically. Platforms are making decisions about how you spend your time without your conscious consent. This removes the natural pause where you might choose to do something else, effectively hijacking your decision-making process. The design of these autoplay systems is based on research into human decision-making under cognitive load. When you're mentally tired or distracted, you default to the path of least resistance. Autoplay exploits this psychological vulnerability by making continued consumption easier than stopping. It takes active effort to exit the stream, while passive consumption requires no decision at all. Notification systems have evolved into sophisticated psychological warfare tools. Platforms analyze your behavior patterns to determine optimal timing for maximum impact. They send notifications when you're most likely to be bored, stressed, or seeking distraction. These systems learn from your responses, becoming more effective at capturing your attention over time. The red notification badges exploit an ancient survival mechanism in your brain. The color red has been associated with danger and urgency throughout human evolution. When you see that red circle with a number, your brain releases stress hormones as if responding to a threat. This physiological response makes ignoring notifications feel almost impossible. Push notification timing is often synchronized across multiple apps to create cascading attention capture. You might receive a social media notification followed immediately by a news alert, then a shopping app reminder. This coordinated assault makes it nearly impossible to ignore your phone and return to focused work. The attention economy has also weaponized social comparison and fear of missing out. Platforms constantly show you what others are doing, buying, achieving, or experiencing. This creates a persistent anxiety that everyone else is living more interesting lives, having more success, or accessing better opportunities. The only way to relieve this anxiety seems to be constant engagement with the platform to stay updated. Infinite scroll technology represents the nuclear weapon of attention capture. By removing natural stopping points, platforms eliminate the psychological cues that normally signal the end of an activity. In the physical world, finishing a book or reaching the end of a magazine provides closure and satisfaction. Digital platforms have deliberately removed these endpoints to keep you engaged indefinitely. The infinite scroll is combined with variable ratio reinforcement, occasionally showing you something genuinely interesting among mostly mediocre content. This psychological pattern is identical to slot machine mechanics. You keep scrolling because you never know when the next swipe will reveal something worth your attention. Recommendation algorithms have evolved beyond simply showing you what you might like. Modern AI systems are designed to predict and influence what you will want next. They analyze millions of behavioral patterns to determine which content will keep you engaged longest. These systems don't just respond to your preferences, they actively shape them. The goal of these algorithms isn't to make you happy or satisfied. It's to maximize engagement time. Research has shown that content that makes people slightly dissatisfied or anxious actually generates more engagement than content that makes them happy. Platforms have learned to keep you in a state of constant seeking, never quite finding what you're looking for. Multi-platform coordination has turned attention capture into a 24-hour siege. When you're not on social media, you're receiving emails. When you're not checking emails, you're getting text messages. When you're not responding to texts, you're seeing banner ads on websites. There's literally no digital space where you're not being targeted for attention capture. The attention economy has also infiltrated your physical environment through location-based targeting. Your smartphone tracks your movements and sends notifications based on where you are. Walk past a store and you might receive a coupon. Enter a restaurant and you might get a review request. Even your physical location has become a trigger for digital attention capture. Productivity, apps, and tools, ironically, have become part of the attention warfare. Many apps that claim to help you focus are actually designed to create dependency and frequent checking. Task management apps send constant reminders and updates. Calendar apps generate notifications for events hours in advance. Even meditation apps interrupt your peace with achievement badges and streak notifications. The gamification of everyday activities has turned normal life experiences into attention-demanding competitions. Fitness apps turn exercise into a game with points, badges, and social comparisons. Learning apps create streaks and achievements that make you feel guilty for missing a day. Banking apps send notifications about spending patterns and account balances. Every aspect of your life has been transformed into a platform for attention capture. Email marketing has evolved into sophisticated behavioral targeting. Companies analyze when you open emails, which links you click, and how long you spend reading. They use this data to optimize sending times, subject lines, and content for maximum attention capture. Your inbox has become a carefully orchestrated psychological manipulation campaign. The attention economy has created what researchers call continuous partial attention, a state where you're always somewhat distracted and never fully focused on any single task. This constant division of attention reduces your cognitive performance, increases stress levels, and makes deep work nearly impossible. Browser design contributes to attention fragmentation through tabs, bookmarks, and integrated notifications. Modern browsers are designed to encourage multitasking and rapid context switching. The ability to have dozens of tabs open simultaneously ensures that you're always one click away from distraction. Search engines have become attention redistribution systems rather than information discovery tools. Search results are optimized to keep you searching longer rather than finding what you need quickly. Related searches, suggested queries, and integrated social media feeds turn every search into an opportunity for extended engagement. The rise of short-form video content represents the latest evolution in attention warfare. Platforms like TikTok and Instagram Reels have discovered that extremely brief, rapidly changing content can capture attention more effectively than longer formats. These platforms train your brain to expect constant stimulation and make longer-form content feel unbearably slow. Voice assistants and smart home devices have extended the attention battlefield into your private space. These devices are always listening for opportunities to engage with you. They interrupt conversations to suggest purchases, provide unsolicited information updates, and create new dependencies on digital systems for basic daily tasks. The attention economy has also infiltrated education and workplace environments. Learning management systems send constant notifications about assignments and deadlines. Workplace collaboration tools create urgency around every message and update. Even environments that should promote focus and learning have been weaponized for attention capture. Understanding that you're in a war for your attention is the first step toward defending yourself. Every notification, every autoplay video, every infinite scroll is not just convenient technology, it's a deliberate attempt to capture and monetize your mental energy. Your attention is being bought and sold without your consent. And the people profiting from this trade have no incentive to protect your well-being or productivity. The solution isn't to retreat from technology entirely, but to become a conscious participant rather than an unconscious victim. When you understand that your attention is under constant attack, you can begin to build defenses and make intentional choices about where and how you focus your mental energy. Chapter 4. AI Recommendation Hacking. How algorithms read your mind. David couldn't understand how Amazon knew he was thinking about buying a coffee maker. He had only mentioned it once to his wife during dinner, and he hadn't searched for it online. Yet the next morning, his Amazon homepage was filled with coffee maker recommendations, complete with customer reviews and discount offers. David felt like his phone was reading his mind. In reality, something far more sophisticated was happening. Artificial intelligence had analyzed hundreds of his behavioral patterns and predicted his purchase intent. before he was even consciously aware of it himself. Modern recommendation algorithms don't just respond to what you want, they predict and influence what you will want next. These AI systems have become so sophisticated that they can anticipate your desires, needs, and decisions with frightening accuracy. They know what you want to buy before you know you want to buy it, what you want to watch before you realize you're bored, and what you want to read before you consciously recognize your interests. The foundation of our recommendation systems lies in behavioral pattern recognition. Every click, scroll, pause, and purchase you make creates data points that feed into machine learning models. These systems analyze not just what you do, but how you do it. They track how long you hover over certain products, which images make you scroll slower, and which colors cause you to click more frequently. Your digital footprint creates what data scientists call a behavioral fingerprint, a unique pattern of interactions that's as distinctive as your physical fingerprint. This fingerprint reveals your personality type, emotional triggers, decision-making patterns, and psychological vulnerabilities. AI systems use this fingerprint to predict your behavior with remarkable accuracy. Consider how Netflix's recommendation algorithm works. The system doesn't just know what shows you've watched, it knows exactly when you paused, when you fast-forwarded, when you rewound, and when you stopped watching entirely. It tracks whether you watch opening credits or skip them, whether you binge-watch series or spread them out over time, and even what time of day you prefer different types of content. This behavioral data is combined with demographic information, viewing patterns of similar users, and content analysis to create what Netflix calls a taste profile. But this profile goes beyond entertainment preferences. It reveals psychological insights about your personality, mood patterns, and emotional needs. The algorithm learns to recommend content that will trigger specific emotional responses at optimal times. Spotify's recommendation system demonstrates how AI can influence not just what you consume, but how you feel. The platform tracks not only which songs you play, but which songs you skip, which ones you repeat, and even which songs you save but never listen to. It analyzes the acoustic properties of your preferred music, tempo, key, energy level, emotional valence, to understand your psychological state. The platform then uses this information to influence your mood through music recommendations. Feeling sad? The algorithm might gradually introduce more upbeat songs to lift your spirits. Feeling energetic? It might recommend music that maintains and amplifies that energy. The AI isn't just playing music you like. It's actively managing your emotional state through carefully curated audio experiences. Shopping recommendation systems have evolved into sophisticated psychological manipulation tools. Amazon's algorithm analyzes your browsing behavior across the entire internet, not just on their platform. They track which products you research, how long you spend reading reviews, and which features you focus on most. This data reveals your decision-making process and allows the algorithm to present products in ways that align with your psychological preferences. The system learns whether you're an impulse buyer or a careful researcher, whether you're motivated by discounts or quality, whether you prefer simple choices or detailed comparisons. It then customizes the shopping experience to match your psychological profile. Impulse buyers see limited-time offers and urgent messaging. Careful researchers see detailed specifications and comprehensive reviews. Social media recommendation algorithms are designed to maximize emotional engagement rather than user satisfaction. These systems have learned that content that generates strong emotional responses, anger, fear, joy, outrage, keeps users engaged longer than neutral content. The AI actively seeks out and promotes content that will trigger your strongest emotional reactions. Facebook's algorithm analyzes not just what you click on, but how long you pause while scrolling, which posts make you slow down or speed up, and which images capture your attention longest. This microbehavioral analysis reveals your emotional triggers and psychological vulnerabilities. The system then uses this information to show you content designed to generate maximum emotional response. The recommendation systems also exploit what psychologists call confirmation bias, the tendency to seek information that confirms your existing beliefs. AI algorithms learn your political views, personal values, and worldview from your engagement patterns. They then create filter bubbles that reinforce your existing beliefs while gradually introducing more extreme versions of your viewpoints. This psychological manipulation has real-world consequences. Studies have shown that social media algorithms can influence political opinions, purchasing decisions, and even life choices like career paths and relationships. The AI systems are literally reshaping human culture by determining what information billions of people see every day. YouTube's recommendation algorithm represents one of the most powerful behavior modification systems ever created. The platform tracks not just what videos you watch, but your engagement patterns throughout each video. It knows which moments make you lean forward, which parts cause you to lose interest, and which elements trigger you to watch more videos. The system uses this data to recommend not just videos you might enjoy, but videos that will keep you watching for hours. Research has revealed that YouTube's algorithm tends to recommend increasingly extreme content, because extreme content generates higher engagement. Users who start with moderate political content often find themselves watching conspiracy theories. People interested in fitness might be gradually guided toward dangerous diet culture. Dating app algorithms claim to help you find compatible partners, but they're actually designed to keep you using the app as long as possible. These systems could theoretically show you highly compatible matches immediately, but that would reduce your engagement with the platform. Instead, they use what psychologists call intermittent reinforcement, occasionally showing you promising matches among mostly mediocre options. The apps analyze your swiping patterns, messaging behavior, and profile preferences to understand your psychological vulnerabilities around relationships and self-esteem. They then use this information to keep you in a cycle of hope and disappointment that maximizes your time on the platform. The goal isn't to help you find love, it's to keep you searching for it through their app. News recommendation algorithms have transformed how society processes information and forms opinions. These systems learn your political leanings, emotional triggers, and information consumption patterns. They then create personalized news feeds designed to capture and hold your attention rather than inform you accurately. The algorithms have learned that outrageous, frightening, or anger-inducing headlines generate more clicks than balanced, nuanced reporting. This has created an information environment where extreme viewpoints are amplified, while moderate perspectives are suppressed. The AI systems are literally reshaping public discourse by determining which information gets the most visibility. Search recommendation systems influence not just what you find, but what you think to look for. Google's autocomplete feature doesn't just predict your searches, it suggests searches you might not have considered. These suggestions are based on analysis of your search history, browsing behavior, and demographic profile. The system is actively shaping your curiosity and information-seeking behavior. The psychological impact of being constantly predicted and influenced by AI systems is profound. Many people report feeling like they're losing their sense of free will and authentic choice. When algorithms consistently predict your behavior accurately, it creates a feeling that your decisions aren't really your own. This psychological manipulation operates below the threshold of conscious awareness. You experience the recommendations as helpful suggestions or serendipitous discoveries, not as calculated attempts to influence your behavior. The most effective psychological manipulation is the kind you don't notice happening. The business model driving these recommendation systems creates perverse incentives. These platforms profit not from making you happy or helping you achieve your goals, but from maximizing your engagement and data production. The AI systems are optimized for addiction, not satisfaction. They're designed to keep you wanting more, not to fulfill your actual needs. Understanding how these systems work is essential for maintaining your psychological autonomy. Every recommendation you receive is not a neutral suggestion. It's the result of sophisticated behavioral analysis designed to influence your choices. The AI isn't trying to help you. It's trying to profit from you. The goal isn't to make you paranoid about every recommendation you receive, but to help you become a conscious participant in these systems rather than an unconscious victim. When you understand that recommendations are attempts to influence your behavior, you can evaluate them more critically and make more intentional choices about what you consume, purchase, and believe. Chapter 5. The Dopamine Trap. Digital Addiction Psychology. Jennifer checks her phone 127 times per day, though she's completely unaware of this frequency. Each time she sees a notification, feels her phone vibrate, or even thinks about checking for updates, her brain releases a small amount of dopamine, the same neurotransmitter involved in cocaine addiction. Over the past 5 years, her tolerance has increased dramatically. What once satisfied her with a single notification now requires constant stimulation to achieve the same psychological effect. Jennifer is experiencing digital addiction, and the symptoms are identical to substance dependency. Digital addiction operates through the same neurological pathways as drug addiction, gambling addiction, and other behavioral dependencies. Technology companies have deliberately engineered their products to trigger these addiction mechanisms, creating what neuroscientists call digital dopamine delivery systems. Your smartphone has essentially become a portable drug dealer, providing on-demand access to psychological rewards that your brain craves with increasing intensity. Dopamine is often misunderstood as the pleasure chemical, but it actually functions as the seeking chemical. Dopamine is released not when you receive a reward, but when you anticipate receiving one. This anticipation creates desire, craving, and compulsive seeking behavior. Technology platforms have weaponized this neurological system to create products that generate constant anticipation and craving. The notification system on your phone exploits what behavioral psychologists call variable ratio reinforcement, the most addictive reward schedule known to science. When you receive notifications unpredictably, your brain releases dopamine in anticipation of potential rewards. Sometimes the notification contains something interesting, sometimes it doesn't. This uncertainty makes the anticipation more powerful than if you received rewards consistently. Slot machines operate on the same variable ratio reinforcement schedule, which is why they're so addictive. Your phone essentially functions as a pocket-sized slot machine, delivering unpredictable rewards throughout the day. Every time you check your phone, you're pulling the lever, hoping for a psychological jackpot in the form of likes, messages, or interesting content. The design of social media platforms deliberately triggers dopamine release through multiple mechanisms. The pull to refresh gesture mimics the physical action of pulling a slot machine lever. The brief delay before new content appears creates anticipation. The infinite scroll ensures that rewards are delivered unpredictably among less rewarding content. Every aspect of the user experience is optimized to trigger and maintain dopamine-driven seeking behavior. Social validation features like likes, hearts, and reactions tap into fundamental human needs for acceptance and approval. When someone likes your post, your brain releases dopamine as if you've received social validation in person. But this digital validation is hollow and temporary, creating a cycle where you need increasing amounts of online approval to achieve the same psychological satisfaction. The numbers displayed on these platforms, follower counts, like counts, view counts, create what psychologists call quantified social worth. Your brain interprets these numbers as measures of your social value and status. When the numbers go up, you experience euphoria. When they stagnate or decline, you experience anxiety and depression. This numerical gamification of social interaction creates psychological dependency on external validation. Photo and video sharing platforms exploit dopamine pathways through visual stimulation and social comparison. The carefully curated images you see trigger dopamine release as your brain anticipates finding something visually rewarding. But the constant exposure to idealized images also creates dissatisfaction with your own life, driving you to seek more stimulation to escape negative feelings. The stories feature on various platforms creates artificial scarcity and urgency that amplifies dopamine release. Because stories disappear after 24 hours, your brain interprets viewing them as time-sensitive opportunities. The fear of missing out triggers dopamine release as your brain anticipates potential social information. This temporary content format transforms casual social media use into urgent, compulsive behavior. Live streaming and real-time features exploit another aspect of dopamine psychology. Your brain releases more dopamine for unpredictable real-time events than for predictable, on-demand content. Live videos, real-time comments, and instant messaging create a sense of urgency and immediacy that traditional media cannot match. This real-time stimulation becomes psychologically addictive. Gaming elements integrated into non-gaming apps create what researchers call persuasive game design. Points, badges, streaks, levels, and achievements trigger dopamine release through accomplishment and progress. Fitness apps use step counts and achievement badges. Language learning apps create streak counters and progress bars. Even productivity apps include gamification elements that make routine tasks feel like games. The streak feature in apps like Snapchat creates psychological pressure that maintains daily engagement. Once you've built a streak with someone, breaking it feels like a personal failure. This artificial commitment device transforms casual communication into compulsive daily ritual. The fear of losing progress triggers stress and anxiety that can only be relieved by continued app usage. Email and messaging notifications exploit dopamine pathways through unpredictable social rewards. Every notification might contain important information, social validation, or interesting content. The uncertainty makes each notification a potential psychological jackpot. The brief anticipation between receiving a notification and reading the message creates dopamine release that reinforces checking behavior. Shopping apps and websites use dopamine psychology to drive purchasing behavior. Product recommendations create anticipation of finding something desirable. Limited time offers and flash sales trigger urgency-based dopamine release. Customer reviews and ratings provide social proof that amplifies anticipated satisfaction. The entire online shopping experience is designed to maintain high levels of seeking behavior that lead to purchases. The personalization algorithms that power recommendation systems create increasingly effective dopamine triggers over time. As these systems learn your preferences and vulnerabilities, they become more skilled at presenting content that generates strong anticipation and craving. The AI essentially learns how to manipulate your specific dopamine pathways more effectively. Video platforms like YouTube and TikTok have mastered the art of dopamine-driven content delivery. The autoplay feature ensures continuous stimulation without requiring conscious choice. The recommendation algorithm presents increasingly engaging content to maintain high dopamine levels. The variable quality of videos creates intermittent reinforcement that keeps you searching for the next rewarding piece of content. Short-form video content represents the latest evolution in dopamine manipulation. Platforms like TikTok deliver rapid-fire stimulation that creates intense dopamine release followed by immediate craving for more. The brevity of each video ensures that gratification is always temporary, requiring constant consumption to maintain stimulation levels. The comment sections and user-generated content features create multi-layered dopamine delivery systems. Reading comments provides social information that triggers dopamine. Receiving replies to your comments provides validation-based rewards. Posting new comments creates anticipation of potential responses. The entire comment ecosystem is designed to maintain psychological engagement through dopamine manipulation. News and information apps exploit dopamine pathways through curiosity and fear-based triggers. Breaking news alerts create urgency-based dopamine release. Clickbait headlines generate curiosity-driven anticipation. Controversial or frightening content triggers emotional responses that the brain interprets as important information, creating compulsive news consumption behavior. The psychological tolerance that develops with digital dopamine exposure mirrors drug addiction patterns. Over time, you need increasing amounts of stimulation to achieve the same psychological satisfaction. What once satisfied you with a few notifications now requires constant digital engagement. This tolerance creates withdrawal symptoms when digital stimulation is removed. Digital detox experiences often produce genuine withdrawal symptoms, including anxiety, irritability, depression, and compulsive urges to check devices. These symptoms demonstrate that digital addiction creates real neurological changes similar to substance dependencies. The brain adapts to constant artificial dopamine stimulation by reducing natural dopamine production and sensitivity. The multitasking and attention switching that digital platforms encourage also affects dopamine systems. Each task switch provides a small dopamine hit as your brain anticipates finding something more interesting or rewarding. This creates preference for constant stimulation over sustained focus, making deep work and concentration increasingly difficult. Sleep patterns are disrupted by digital dopamine systems. Through blue light exposure and psychological stimulation before bedtime, the anticipation of potential notifications or interesting content makes it difficult to disconnect and relax. Many people check their phones immediately upon waking and just before sleep, creating 24-hour dopamine cycles. Understanding digital dopamine manipulation is crucial for reclaiming control over your attention and behavior. Every notification, every autoplay video, every infinite scroll is designed to trigger neurological systems that evolved for survival, not for corporate profit. Your brain's reward systems are being hijacked by artificial stimulation that provides temporary pleasure but long-term dissatisfaction. The goal isn't to eliminate all digital dopamine triggers, but to become conscious of how they work and make intentional choices about which ones you allow into your life. When you understand that your devices are designed to create psychological dependency, you can begin to use them as tools rather than allowing them to use you as a product. Chapter 6. Echo Chamber Escape. Breaking Your Information Prison. Michael considers himself well-informed and open-minded. He reads news daily, follows multiple sources, and engages with different perspectives on social media. Yet, when he had dinner with his college roommate last month, he was shocked to discover they held completely opposite views on major political and social issues. Both men consume hours of news content daily, but they might as well be living in different realities. Michael had unknowingly become trapped in an information echo chamber so sophisticated that he couldn't see its walls. Echo chambers and filter bubbles represent one of the most dangerous aspects of algorithmic manipulation. These systems don't just influence what you buy or watch, they shape what you believe about reality itself. Artificial intelligence has created personalized information universes that feel comprehensive and balanced while actually being carefully curated to reinforce your existing beliefs and keep you engaged. An echo chamber is an environment where your existing beliefs are amplified and reinforced through repetition and validation. A filter bubble is the algorithm-created information ecosystem that determines what information you encounter. Together, these phenomena create a situation where millions of people can live in the same physical world while inhabiting completely different information realities. The psychology behind echo chamber formation starts with confirmation bias, the human tendency to seek information that confirms what we already believe, while avoiding information that challenges our views. This bias evolved as a mental shortcut that helped our ancestors make quick decisions in dangerous situations. But in the modern information environment, this same bias has been weaponized by algorithms to create profitable engagement. Social media algorithms have learned that people engage more with content that confirms their existing beliefs than with content that challenges them. Posts that make you nod in agreement or feel validated get more likes, shares, and comments than posts that make you think critically or question your assumptions. The algorithms interpret this engagement as preference and show you more similar content. The process is gradual and almost imperceptible. You don't wake up one day trapped in an echo chamber. Instead, your information diet slowly shifts over weeks and months as algorithms fine-tune your content to maximize engagement. What starts as a slight preference for certain viewpoints gradually becomes a complete information monoculture, where alternative perspectives simply don't exist in your digital environment. Facebook's own internal research revealed that their algorithm actively promotes divisive content because division generates engagement. The platform's systems learn that posts containing strong emotional language, controversial statements, and polarizing viewpoints keep users scrolling, commenting, and sharing longer than balanced, nuanced content. This creates a systematic bias toward extreme viewpoints and against moderate perspectives. The personalization that makes echo chambers possible relies on sophisticated behavioral analysis. Algorithms track not just what you click on, but how long you spend reading different types of content, which articles you share, which comments you like, and even which posts you scroll past quickly. This behavioral data reveals your psychological and political profile more accurately than any survey. Search engines contribute to echo chamber formation through personalized search results. When you search for information about a controversial topic, the results you see are customized based on your previous searches, browsing history, and inferred beliefs. Two people searching for identical terms can receive completely different results that reinforce their opposing viewpoints. This personalization creates what researchers call search result segregation. Conservative users researching climate change might see results emphasizing uncertainty and controversy. Liberal users searching the same terms might see results emphasizing scientific consensus and urgent action. Both groups feel they've done objective research, but they've actually been shown pre-selected information that confirms their existing beliefs. News recommendation algorithms amplify echo chamber effects by creating what appears to be diverse news consumption while actually narrowing your information sources. You might read articles from dozens of different websites, but if those sites are all selected by algorithms that know your political preferences, you're still receiving ideologically homogeneous information presented as diverse sourcing. The illusion of diversity is particularly dangerous because it makes people overconfident in their beliefs. When you see your viewpoints reflected across multiple, seemingly independent sources, you interpret this as evidence that your beliefs are widely shared and well supported. You don't realize that the algorithm has deliberately selected sources that align with your existing perspectives. YouTube's recommendation algorithm has been particularly effective at creating political echo chambers. Research has shown that users who watch moderate political content are gradually recommended increasingly extreme videos because extreme content generates higher engagement. This algorithmic radicalization happens slowly enough that users don't notice their views becoming more polarized over time. The platform's autoplay feature accelerates echo chamber formation by removing conscious choice from content consumption. When videos play automatically, you're more likely to absorb information passively rather than critically evaluating its accuracy or bias. This passive consumption makes you more susceptible to accepting information that confirms your existing beliefs without questioning its validity. Echo chambers also form around non-political topics, creating dangerous misinformation bubbles around health, science, and social issues. Anti-vaccine communities, flat Earth believers, and conspiracy theorists often develop through algorithmic echo chambers that gradually introduce increasingly extreme content while filtering out contradictory evidence. The psychological comfort of echo chambers makes them psychologically addictive. Having your beliefs constantly validated feels good and reduces cognitive dissonance, the uncomfortable feeling that occurs when you encounter conflicting information. Echo chambers provide psychological relief from the complex, ambiguous, and often contradictory nature of real-world information. Social validation within echo chambers creates powerful psychological reinforcement. When you share content that aligns with your community's beliefs, you receive likes, supportive comments, and social approval. When you question those beliefs or share contradictory information, you receive criticism, arguments, or social rejection. This social pressure gradually shapes your information, sharing behavior, and eventually your beliefs themselves. The polarization created by echo chambers has real-world consequences beyond individual belief formation. When large populations live in separate information realities, democratic discourse becomes impossible. People can't compromise or find common ground when they can't even agree on basic facts about shared challenges and opportunities. Echo chambers also make society more vulnerable to manipulation by bad actors who understand how these systems work. Foreign governments, extremist groups, and corporate interests can exploit algorithmic echo chambers to spread misinformation, manipulate public opinion, and undermine social cohesion. The business model of engagement-driven platforms creates financial incentives for echo chamber formation. Platforms profit from advertising revenue that depends on user engagement time. Echo chambers keep people engaged longer than balanced information environments, because they provide constant validation and emotional stimulation, without challenging users to think critically. Breaking free from echo chambers requires conscious effort and specific strategies. The first step is recognizing that you're likely trapped in information bubbles without realizing it. Everyone who consumes digital media is subject to algorithmic curation, regardless of their political views or intelligence level. Diversifying your information sources requires more than just reading different websites or following different social media accounts. You need to actively seek out high-quality sources that challenge your existing beliefs and present information you might find uncomfortable or disagreeable. Critical thinking skills become essential in echo chamber environments. You need to evaluate information sources, check facts independently, consider alternative explanations, and maintain intellectual humility about your own beliefs. These skills require practice and conscious effort to maintain. The psychological discomfort of encountering challenging information is normal and healthy. If everything you read confirms what you already believe, you're probably trapped in an echo chamber. Intellectual growth requires engaging with ideas that make you uncomfortable and considering the possibility that your current beliefs might be incomplete or incorrect. Building awareness of your own biases and psychological vulnerabilities helps you recognize when algorithms are exploiting them. Understanding confirmation bias, motivated reasoning, and other cognitive biases makes you less susceptible to manipulation and more capable of objective information evaluation. Creating habits that expose you to diverse perspectives requires intentional effort. This might include reading publications you disagree with, following people who hold different viewpoints, seeking out primary sources rather than filtered interpretations, and engaging with people from different backgrounds and belief systems. The goal isn't to become a relativist who believes all viewpoints are equally valid, but to become a more discerning consumer of information who can distinguish between high-quality evidence and manipulative content. Echo chambers exploit your natural psychological tendencies, but conscious awareness and effort can help you break free from algorithmic manipulation. Understanding that information warfare is being waged for your mind helps you approach digital content with appropriate skepticism. Every algorithm-curated feed, every personalized recommendation, every targeted news article represents an attempt to influence your beliefs and behavior. Recognizing this manipulation is the first step toward intellectual freedom. Chapter 7. Digital manipulation detection. Spotting the red flags. Lisa thought she was making independent choices when she bought her new laptop, chose her streaming subscriptions, and decided which news articles to read. But when she analyzed her digital behavior over the past month, she discovered a disturbing pattern. Every major decision had been preceded by targeted ads, personalized recommendations, and strategically timed notifications. What felt like autonomous decision-making was actually sophisticated behavioral manipulation. Lisa had been psychologically guided toward predetermined outcomes without realizing she was being influenced. Digital manipulation has become so sophisticated and pervasive that most people can't recognize when it's happening to them. The most effective psychological manipulation operates below the threshold of conscious awareness, making you feel like you're making free choices, while actually being guided toward predetermined behaviors. Learning to spot these manipulation techniques is essential for maintaining your psychological autonomy in the digital age. The timing of digital interactions is one of the most revealing indicators of manipulation. Legitimate platforms typically send notifications and recommendations at regular intervals or in response to your actions. Manipulative systems analyze your behavioral patterns to identify moments when you're most psychologically vulnerable, when you're bored, stressed, lonely, or seeking distraction, and time their interventions accordingly. Pay attention to when you receive notifications and recommendations. If they consistently arrive during your emotionally vulnerable periods, late at night when you're tired, during work breaks when you're seeking escape, or after stressful events when you need comfort. This suggests the platform is exploiting your psychological state rather than providing genuine value. Urgency-based messaging represents another clear manipulation technique. Legitimate information and offers rarely require immediate action. When platforms use phrases like limited time, act now, urgent, or you're missing out, they're trying to bypass your rational decision-making processes by triggering emotional responses. This artificial urgency is designed to make you act before you have time to think critically. Watch for artificial scarcity indicators such as countdown timers, stock counters, or messages about other people viewing the same content. These elements create psychological pressure that has nothing to do with actual scarcity or value. Manipulative platforms use false urgency to push you toward immediate engagement rather than thoughtful consideration. The personalization level of content and ads can reveal manipulation attempts. While some personalization is helpful and expected, hyper-specific targeting that seems to know your thoughts, recent conversations, or emotional state suggests sophisticated behavioral surveillance. When ads or content feel eerily relevant to your private thoughts or recent activities, you're likely experiencing the results of extensive data collection and psychological profiling. Social proof manipulation uses fabricated or exaggerated social signals to influence your behavior. Look for suspicious patterns in likes, views, comments, or user reviews. Manipulative platforms often inflate these numbers or use automated accounts to create false impressions of popularity or consensus. Genuine social proof develops organically and shows natural variation and diversity. Emotional manipulation techniques are designed to bypass rational thinking by triggering strong emotional responses. Content that consistently makes you feel angry, fearful, anxious, or urgently concerned may be designed to keep you engaged rather than inform you accurately. Manipulative platforms amplify extreme emotions. Because emotional arousal increases engagement and reduces critical thinking. Observe your emotional state before, during, and after digital interactions. If you consistently feel agitated, anxious, or emotionally drained after using certain platforms, this suggests they're using emotional manipulation techniques. Healthy digital experiences should leave you feeling informed, entertained, or satisfied, not emotionally exhausted. The complexity and clarity of user interfaces can indicate manipulation intent. Genuinely helpful platforms make it easy to understand your options and control your experience. Manipulative platforms use deliberately confusing interfaces, hidden settings, and complex processes to prevent you from making informed choices about your privacy, notifications, and data usage. Look for dark patterns in user interface design, features that trick you into taking actions you didn't intend. These include pre-checked boxes that sign you up for services, confusing unsubscribe processes, buttons that don't clearly indicate what action they'll perform, and interfaces that make desired actions difficult while making profitable actions easy. Recommendation algorithms that seem to push you toward increasingly extreme or expensive content indicate manipulation rather than genuine service. Healthy recommendation systems help you discover content similar to what you already enjoy. Manipulative systems gradually introduce more extreme, controversial, or expensive options to maximize engagement or revenue. Monitor how your interests and preferences change over time. When using algorithmic platforms, you find yourself gradually drawn toward more extreme viewpoints, higher-priced products, or increasingly time-consuming content. The algorithm may be manipulating your preferences rather than responding to them. The frequency and persistence of prompts to share personal information, enable notifications, or grant permissions reveals manipulation intent. Legitimate platforms ask for necessary permissions once and respect your choices. Manipulative platforms repeatedly prompt you to share more data or enable more intrusive features, often using guilt, fear, or false incentives. Pay attention to how platforms respond when you try to limit their access to your data or attention. Genuine services respect your privacy choices and work well with limited permissions. Manipulative platforms make it difficult to opt out. Use confusing language around privacy settings or degrade functionality when you restrict their access to your information. The language used in notifications, prompts, and interface elements can reveal manipulation techniques. Manipulative platforms use psychological pressure words like everyone, immediately, before it's too late, or you're missing out. They also use guilt-inducing language that makes you feel bad for not engaging with their content or services. Genuine platforms use clear, neutral language that helps you understand your options without emotional pressure. They explain what features do, why they're useful, and what happens if you choose not to use them. Manipulative platforms use vague, urgent, or emotionally charged language designed to bypass critical thinking. The business model behind digital platforms often reveals their manipulation potential. Platforms that generate revenue primarily through advertising have financial incentives to maximize your engagement, time, and data collection, which often leads to manipulative design. Platforms funded through subscriptions or direct payments are more likely to prioritize user satisfaction over manipulation. Understanding how platforms make money helps you evaluate their trustworthiness. Free platforms that seem too good to be true often profit by selling your attention and data to third parties. This business model creates inherent conflicts between your interests and the platform's financial goals. The transparency of algorithmic decision-making indicates whether platforms are trying to help or manipulate you. Honest platforms explain how their algorithms work, why they show you certain content, and how you can control your experience. Manipulative platforms keep their algorithms secret and make it difficult to understand or control how content is selected for you. Look for clear explanations of why you're seeing specific content ads or recommendations. Platforms that provide detailed explanations and easy controls are more likely to be serving your interests. Platforms that offer vague explanations or no explanations at all may be prioritizing manipulation over transparency. The social dynamics encouraged by platforms can reveal manipulation techniques. Healthy platforms encourage positive social interaction, thoughtful discussion, and genuine connection. Manipulative platforms amplify conflict, controversy, and competition because these dynamics generate more engagement and data. Notice whether platforms reward thoughtful, constructive behavior or dramatic, controversial behavior. If extreme viewpoints, angry comments, and divisive content receive more visibility and engagement than balanced perspectives. The platform is likely using social manipulation to increase engagement. Your ability to leave or take breaks from platforms indicates their manipulation level. Genuine services make it easy to pause or cancel your account and welcome you back when you're ready. Manipulative platforms make it difficult to leave. Use fear tactics to prevent cancellation and aggressively try to re-engage you when you step away. Test how easy it is to reduce your usage or take a break from platforms you use regularly. Platforms that respect your autonomy will make this process straightforward and won't bombard you with re-engagement attempts. Manipulative platforms will use every psychological trick to pull you back. The consistency between a platform's stated values and actual behavior reveals its true intent. Many platforms claim to prioritize user well-being, privacy, and authentic connection while actually optimizing for engagement, data collection, and profit. Look for discrepancies between public statements and actual features or policies. Read privacy policies, terms of service, and public statements about platform values. Then compare these claims to your actual experience. Platforms with integrity align their stated values with their design choices and business practices. Building awareness of these manipulation techniques takes practice and conscious attention. Start by observing your digital experiences with curiosity rather than assumption. Question why you're seeing certain content, feeling particular emotions, or making specific choices during digital interactions. The goal isn't to become paranoid about every digital interaction, but to develop the skill of recognizing when platforms are trying to influence your behavior for their benefit rather than yours. Once you can spot these manipulation techniques, you can make more conscious choices about which platforms to use and how to interact with them. Chapter 8. Information Overload Management. Mental Filter Systems. Tom starts each morning by checking his phone for news updates. Within 15 minutes, he's consumed information about global conflicts, economic crises, celebrity scandals, political controversies, scientific breakthroughs, and social media drama. By the time he arrives at work, his mind feels cluttered and overwhelmed. He struggles to focus on important tasks because his brain is still processing the flood of disconnected information he consumed. Tom is experiencing information overload, a modern psychological condition that affects millions of people daily. Information overload occurs when the amount of input information exceeds your cognitive capacity to process it effectively. In the digital age, the average person encounters more information in a single day than previous generations processed in months. This constant information bombardment creates mental fatigue, decision paralysis, anxiety, and reduced cognitive performance across all areas of life. Your brain evolved to handle limited amounts of information from your immediate environment. Our ancestors needed to track weather patterns, food sources, social relationships, and potential threats within a small geographic area. The modern information environment exposes you to global events, complex social issues, countless entertainment options, and endless streams of opinions and perspectives that your cognitive systems weren't designed to handle. The psychological symptoms of information overload include difficulty concentrating, feeling mentally exhausted despite not doing demanding work, struggling to make decisions about simple matters, and experiencing anxiety about staying informed. Many people report feeling like they can never catch up with everything they think they should know, creating a persistent sense of being behind or missing important information. Digital platforms deliberately create information overload because overwhelmed users are more likely to rely on algorithmic recommendations rather than making conscious choices about what to consume. When you're overwhelmed by options, you default to letting the platform decide what you should see next. This learned helplessness makes you more susceptible to manipulation and less likely to seek out diverse or challenging information sources. News organizations have adapted to the attention economy by increasing the volume and urgency of information they produce. Breaking news alerts that once signaled genuine emergencies now announce routine political developments. Celebrity updates and minor local events. This constant stream of urgent information trains your brain to feel anxious and overwhelmed by current events. The 24-hour news cycle creates artificial pressure to stay constantly informed about rapidly changing events. But most news events don't actually require immediate awareness or action from individual citizens. The feeling that you must stay constantly updated is manufactured by platforms that profit from your attention, not by any genuine need for real-time information consumption. Social media amplifies information overload by mixing important and trivial information without distinction. Your feed might show a lunch photo from a friend, followed by news about a natural disaster, followed by a political argument, followed by a product advertisement. This random mixture of significant and insignificant information overwhelms the natural filtering systems of your brain. The psychological concept of satisficing versus maximizing becomes crucial in managing information overload. Satisficing means choosing options that meet your minimum requirements rather than searching for perfect solutions. Maximizing means attempting to find the absolute best option among all possibilities. In information-rich environments, satisficing leads to better decisions and less psychological stress than maximizing. Email has become a major source of information overload for most professionals. The average office worker receives over 100 emails per day, each potentially containing information that seems important but may actually be irrelevant to their core responsibilities. The psychological pressure to read and respond to every email creates cognitive load that reduces performance on more important tasks. Newsletter subscriptions, notification settings, and information feeds gradually build up over time. This creates information input levels that go beyond your processing ability. Most people subscribe to information sources faster than they unsubscribe from them. This leads to constantly increasing information consumption that becomes impossible to maintain. The fear of missing out drives much of the compulsive information consumption that leads to overload. People worry that if they don't constantly monitor news, social media, and communication channels, they'll miss something important. But research shows that truly important information usually reaches you through multiple channels, making constant monitoring unnecessary. Information quality has declined as information quantity has increased. The pressure to produce constant content has led to more opinion-based reporting, less fact-checking, shorter attention to complex issues, and more sensationalized presentation of routine events. This means you're processing more information that provides less actual value or accuracy. The psychological term attention residue describes how switching between different information sources leaves traces of previous content in your working memory, reducing your ability to focus on current tasks. When you rapidly switch between news articles, social media posts, emails, and work documents, each transition leaves mental residue that accumulates throughout the day. Multitasking with information sources creates the illusion of productivity, while actually reducing cognitive performance. When you try to monitor news feeds while working, respond to messages while reading, or process multiple information streams simultaneously, your brain rapidly switches between tasks rather than truly multitasking, creating mental fatigue and reducing accuracy. The concept of cognitive load theory explains why information overload is so mentally exhausting. Your working memory can only hold a limited amount of information at any given time. When you try to process more information than this capacity allows, cognitive performance degrades and mental fatigue increases rapidly. Building effective mental filter systems requires developing criteria for determining what information deserves your attention. Not all information is equally important, relevant, or actionable. Creating clear standards for information consumption helps. You focus on inputs that actually improve your understanding or enable better decisions. The first step in managing information overload is conducting an information audit of all your current inputs. List every source of information you regularly consume. news websites, social media accounts, email subscriptions, podcasts, videos, and apps. Then evaluate each source based on how much value it actually provides versus how much attention it demands. Time-based filtering helps manage information consumption by allocating specific periods for different types of information processing. Instead of constantly monitoring multiple information streams throughout the day, designate specific times for checking news, responding to messages, and consuming entertainment content. This approach reduces attention residue and allows for deeper focus during non-information periods. Source quality filtering involves prioritizing high-quality, original sources over aggregated or opinion-based content. Primary sources, peer-reviewed research, and original reporting typically provide more accurate and comprehensive information than secondary sources. Social media commentary or opinion pieces. Focusing on fewer higher-quality sources reduces information volume while improving information value. Relevance filtering requires honestly evaluating whether information relates to your actual responsibilities, interests, or decision-making needs. Much of the information that feels important is actually irrelevant to your daily life and goals. Developing the ability to distinguish between genuinely relevant and merely interesting information dramatically reduces cognitive load. Actionability filtering helps identify information that enables specific actions or decisions versus information that serves only entertainment or anxiety-inducing purposes. Information that you can't act upon often creates psychological stress without providing any benefit. Focusing on actionable information improves both mental well-being and practical outcomes. The concept of information fasting involves deliberately avoiding information consumption for specific periods to allow your cognitive systems to recover from overload. Short-term information fasts can restore mental clarity, reduce anxiety, and help you recognize which information sources you actually miss versus those that were simply habitual distractions. Batch processing information inputs reduces the psychological switching costs associated with constantly monitoring multiple sources. Instead of checking email every few minutes, check it 2 or 3 times per day. Instead of constantly monitoring news feeds, review news once in the morning and once in the evening. This approach reduces attention fragmentation while ensuring you stay adequately informed. Creating information consumption rituals helps establish boundaries between focused work time and information processing time. Designate specific locations, times, and durations for consuming different types of information. This prevents information consumption from bleeding into all areas of your life and reduces the anxiety associated with feeling constantly behind on information. The practice of slow information involves deliberately choosing depth over breadth in information consumption. Instead of skimming dozens of articles, read a few high-quality pieces thoroughly. Instead of following hundreds of social media accounts, focus on a smaller number of truly valuable sources. This approach provides better understanding while reducing cognitive overload. Understanding that you cannot and do not need to know everything helps reduce the anxiety that drives compulsive information consumption. The world is complex and constantly changing, but your personal sphere of influence and responsibility is limited. Focusing your information consumption on areas where you can actually make a difference proves both mental health and practical effectiveness. Developing comfort with uncertainty and incomplete information is essential in an age of information abundance. The desire to have complete information before making decisions or forming opinions often leads to endless information seeking that never reaches a satisfactory conclusion. Learning to make good decisions with incomplete information is a crucial skill for managing information overload. Chapter 9. Mental Firewall. Cyberpsychology, Self-Defense. When Alina opened her laptop yesterday morning, she intended to spend 30 minutes reviewing project documents. 3 hours later, she found herself deep in social media arguments, reading conspiracy theories and feeling anxious about current events she had never heard of before. Her productive work session had been completely derailed, digital distractions that felt urgent and important in the moment, but provided no real value. Alina needed what cybersecurity experts call a mental firewall, psychological defenses that protect your mind from unwanted digital influences. Just as computer firewalls protect systems from malicious software and unauthorized access, mental firewalls protect your psychological well-being from manipulative digital content and attention hijacking. In the cyber world, firewalls analyze incoming data and block potentially harmful content based on predetermined rules. Mental firewalls work similarly, using conscious decision-making frameworks to filter digital inputs before they can influence your emotions, beliefs, or behavior. The concept of cyberpsychology self-defense recognizes that your mind is under constant attack from systems designed to capture attention, manipulate emotions, and influence behavior. These attacks aren't random or accidental. They're sophisticated, targeted campaigns developed by teams of psychologists, data scientists, and user experience designers whose job is to override your conscious decision-making processes. Traditional cybersecurity focuses on protecting data and systems. Cyberpsychology's self-defense focuses on protecting your attention, emotional well-being, and cognitive autonomy. The attacks on your mind are often more subtle and dangerous than attacks on your computer because they can change how you think, feel, and behave without you realizing you're being influenced. The first layer of mental firewall protection involves awareness-based defense systems. Just as network firewalls maintain logs of attempted intrusions, you need to develop conscious awareness of when digital platforms are attempting to manipulate your psychology. This means recognizing emotional manipulation techniques, tension capture mechanisms, and behavioral influence attempts in real time. Developing metacognitive awareness, thinking about your thinking, helps you notice when your emotional state or behavior changes in response to digital stimuli. If you feel suddenly angry, anxious, or compulsively driven to take action after consuming digital content, this suggests you may be experiencing psychological manipulation rather than genuine emotional responses to important information. Intent recognition represents a crucial mental firewall capability. Before engaging with any digital content or platform, ask yourself what the creator's intent might be. Are they trying to inform you, entertain you, sell you something, influence your beliefs, or capture your attention for profit? Understanding intent helps you evaluate whether the content serves your interests or someone else's agenda. The psychological equivalent of intrusion detection systems involves recognizing when your normal thought patterns or emotional states are being artificially influenced. Pay attention to sudden changes in mood, unexpected urges to purchase products, or strong emotional reactions to content that wouldn't normally affect you. These can be signs that your mental defenses are being bypassed. Source authentication in mental firewall systems requires verifying the credibility and motivation of information sources before accepting their input. Just as computer firewalls check the authenticity of incoming data packets, you need to verify whether information sources are trustworthy, accurate, and free from conflicts of interest that might bias their content. Developing healthy skepticism without paranoia is essential for effective mental firewall operation. This means questioning claims that seem too good to be true, emotional content that triggers strong immediate reactions, and information that perfectly confirms your existing beliefs. Healthy skepticism evaluates evidence quality rather than accepting or rejecting information based on emotional responses. Time-based access controls limit when and how long you engage with potentially manipulative digital content. Just as computer firewalls can restrict access to certain websites during work hours, you can establish temporal boundaries around social media use, news consumption, and entertainment content to prevent these activities from interfering with important tasks or sleep. Environmental access controls involve creating physical and digital spaces that support focused attention and resist manipulation. This might include using separate devices for work and entertainment, creating distraction-free zones in your home, or using website blockers during focused work periods. Physical environment design can support or undermine your mental firewall effectiveness. Content filtering systems help you avoid exposure to psychologically manipulative material before it can influence your thinking. This includes unsubscribing from manipulative email lists, unfollowing accounts that consistently trigger negative emotions, and using ad blockers to reduce exposure to behavioral targeting attempts. The concept of cognitive load management is crucial for mental firewall effectiveness. When you're mentally tired, stressed, or overwhelmed, your psychological defenses become less effective. Manipulative content is often most successful when it targets people during vulnerable psychological states. Managing your cognitive load helps maintain defensive capabilities. Emotional regulation techniques serve as active defense mechanisms against psychological manipulation. When you can recognize and manage your emotional responses to digital content, you become less susceptible to manipulation attempts that rely on triggering strong emotional reactions to bypass rational thinking. The practice of delayed response creates space between emotional triggers and behavioral responses. Instead of immediately clicking, sharing, or responding to emotionally provocative content, create a waiting period that allows rational analysis to counteract emotional manipulation. This simple delay often reveals manipulation attempts that weren't obvious in the moment. Information verification protocols help you fact-check and validate information before accepting it as true or sharing it with others. This includes checking multiple sources, looking for primary sources rather than interpretations, and being aware of your own confirmation bias when evaluating evidence that supports or challenges your existing beliefs. Social proof resistance involves recognizing when platforms artificially amplify social signals to influence your behavior. Large numbers of likes, shares, or comments can be manufactured through automated accounts or algorithmic manipulation. Learning to evaluate content quality independently of social proof metrics reduces susceptibility to bandwagon effects. Privacy-first thinking approaches digital interactions with the assumption that your data will be used to influence your behavior. This mindset encourages minimizing data sharing, using privacy-focused tools and services, and understanding how your personal information can be used to create psychological profiles for targeting purposes. Digital minimalism principles help reduce your attack surface by limiting the number of platforms, apps, and services that have access to your attention and data. Fewer digital touchpoints mean fewer opportunities for psychological manipulation and easier management of your mental firewall systems. The concept of attention sovereignty recognizes that your focused awareness is your most valuable personal resource and should be protected accordingly. This means making conscious decisions about where you direct your attention rather than allowing algorithms and artificial intelligence systems to make these decisions for you. Regular mental firewall auditing involves periodically reviewing your digital habits, information sources, and psychological responses to identify vulnerabilities or areas where manipulation attempts have been successful. This includes analyzing your screen time data, reviewing your information sources for quality and bias, and assessing whether your digital consumption aligns with your stated values and goals. Incident response procedures help you recover quickly when your mental defenses have been compromised. If you realize you've been manipulated into making a purchase, believing misinformation, or wasting significant time on low-value content, having predetermined response protocols helps you minimize damage and strengthen your defenses against future attacks. The practice of cognitive hygiene involves regularly clearing your mind of accumulated digital debris through meditation, reflection, or other mindfulness practices. Just as computer systems need regular maintenance to function optimally, your cognitive systems need periodic clearing and reorganization to maintain peak performance. Building redundant defense systems ensures that multiple protective mechanisms work together to maintain your psychological security. This might include using both technical tools like ad blockers and behavioral practices like delayed response protocols. Redundancy prevents single points of failure in your mental firewall systems. Understanding that mental firewall maintenance is an ongoing process rather than a one-time setup helps you develop sustainable protection strategies. Digital manipulation techniques evolve constantly, requiring continuous updates to your defensive capabilities and awareness of new psychological attack vectors. The goal of cyberpsychology self-defense isn't to eliminate all digital interaction or become paranoid about technology. Instead, the goal is to become a conscious, intentional user of digital systems rather than an unconscious victim of psychological manipulation. Effective mental firewalls allow you to benefit from digital technology while protecting your autonomy, attention, and well-being. Developing these defensive capabilities takes practice and conscious effort, but the investment pays dividends in improved focus, better decision-making, reduced anxiety, and greater sense of control over your digital life. Your mind is worth protecting, and cyberpsychology self-defense gives you the tools to maintain your cognitive sovereignty in an increasingly manipulative digital environment. Chapter 10. Digital Minimalism Mastery. Less screen, more life. Kevin owns 3 computers, 2 tablets, 4 streaming subscriptions, follows 847 people on social media, has 23 apps on his phone, and receives over 200 notifications daily. Despite having access to unlimited entertainment, information, and connection, he feels constantly overwhelmed, distracted, and disconnected from meaningful experiences. Kevin is experiencing what researchers call digital maximalism, the accumulation of technological tools and inputs far beyond what actually enhances life quality. He needs to discover digital minimalism, a philosophy that prioritizes intentional technology use over consumption. Digital minimalism is not about rejecting technology or living like a hermit. Instead, it's about being extremely selective about which digital tools you allow into your life and how you use them. Digital minimalists recognize that technology should serve human values and goals rather than demanding constant attention and engagement. This approach requires actively curating your digital environment to support your well-being rather than undermine it. The philosophy of digital minimalism starts with identifying your core values and life goals. Then, evaluating how current technology use either supports or conflicts with these priorities. Most people adopt digital tools reactively. They download apps because friends recommend them, sign up for services because they're free, or start using platforms because they're popular. Digital minimalists make proactive decisions based on clear criteria. The psychological benefits of digital minimalism include improved focus and concentration, reduced anxiety and overwhelm, better sleep quality, more meaningful social connections, increased creativity and deep thinking, and greater sense of control over your time and attention. These benefits emerge not from using less technology, but from using technology more intentionally. The first step in digital minimalism involves conducting a comprehensive audit of your current digital consumption. Document every app on your devices, every subscription service you pay for, every social media account you maintain, every notification source you allow, and every website you regularly visit. This audit often reveals the extent to which digital accumulation has occurred without conscious decision-making. The audit process includes tracking how much time you actually spend with each digital tool and assessing the value it provides. Most people are shocked to discover they spend hours daily on apps that provide minimal benefit while neglecting tools that could genuinely improve their lives. Time-tracking apps can provide objective data about your actual digital behavior versus your perceived usage patterns. Value-based evaluation requires asking specific questions about each digital tool. Does this technology directly support my most important goals and values? Does it help me connect with people I care about in meaningful ways? Does it provide information I need to make better decisions? Does it enhance my skills or knowledge in areas that matter to me? or does it primarily serve as entertainment or distraction? The concept of digital decluttering involves systematically removing technologies that don't meet your value-based criteria. This process can be emotionally challenging because many digital habits feel comfortable and familiar even when they're not beneficial. Decluttering requires honest evaluation of whether each tool enhances or detracts from your quality of life. Starting with a temporary digital detox helps break habitual usage patterns and provides clarity about which technologies you actually miss versus those that were simply addictive distractions. A 30-day break from non-essential digital tools allows you to experience life without constant connectivity and makes intentional choices about what to reintroduce. During the detox period, pay attention to how you feel physically and mentally without constant digital stimulation. Many people report improved sleep, better concentration, reduced anxiety, more creativity, and stronger connections with people and activities in their immediate environment. These benefits help motivate continued minimalist practices. The reintroduction phase requires establishing clear rules and boundaries for how you'll use digital tools moving forward. Instead of returning to unlimited access, create specific parameters around when, where, and how you'll engage with each technology. These boundaries help maintain the benefits of minimalism while still utilizing helpful digital tools. Operating rules for digital minimalism might include designating phone-free times during meals and before bed, checking email only at predetermined times rather than constantly, using social media only on computers rather than phones to reduce impulsive checking, and batching similar digital tasks to reduce context switching throughout the day. The principle of single-purpose devices can significantly improve digital minimalism practice. Instead of using your smartphone for everything, consider using dedicated devices for specific functions. A physical alarm clock eliminates the need to have your phone beside your bed. A dedicated e-reader reduces the temptation to check social media while reading. Single-purpose tools reduce multitasking and distraction. Attention protection becomes a core skill in digital minimalism. This involves recognizing that your focused attention is a limited and valuable resource that should be allocated consciously, rather than surrendered to algorithmic systems designed to capture and monetize it. Protecting attention requires both technical tools and behavioral practices. Technical attention protection includes using website blockers during focused work periods, turning off non-essential notifications, using distraction-free writing environments, and employing apps that limit access to time-wasting websites. These tools create friction that supports your conscious intentions when willpower alone isn't sufficient. Behavioral attention protection involves developing habits that support sustained focus and resist digital distraction. This includes creating physical spaces dedicated to focused work, establishing routines that don't involve immediate digital checking, and practicing meditation or mindfulness to strengthen your ability to notice and redirect attention when it wanders. The concept of slow technology emphasizes depth and quality over speed and quantity in digital interactions. Instead of rapidly consuming large volumes of information, slow technology users prefer fewer higher-quality inputs that provide genuine value. This approach reduces information overload while improving comprehension and retention. Slow technology practices include reading fewer but better books, following fewer but more thoughtful writers and thinkers, engaging in longer-form content rather than bite-sized snippets, and choosing quality over quantity in entertainment consumption. This approach provides more satisfying and meaningful digital experiences. Social media minimalism requires being extremely selective about which platforms you use and how you use them. Many digital minimalists eliminate social media entirely, while others use it very strategically for specific purposes like professional networking or staying connected with distant family members. The key is conscious choice rather than habitual consumption. For those who choose to maintain some social media presence, minimalist practices include following only accounts that provide genuine value, Turning off all notifications, using time limits to prevent excessive scrolling, and engaging intentionally rather than passively consuming. These boundaries help extract benefits while avoiding manipulation and time waste. Communication minimalism involves simplifying how you handle messages, emails, and other digital communications. This might include consolidating communication channels, establishing response time expectations that don't require immediate availability, and using tools that batch and organize communications for more efficient processing. Email minimalism practices include unsubscribing aggressively from unnecessary lists, using filters to automatically organize important messages, establishing specific times for email processing rather than constant monitoring, and writing shorter, clearer messages that require fewer back-and-forth exchanges. Digital minimalism extends to information consumption patterns. Instead of trying to stay updated on everything happening in the world, minimalists choose specific areas of focus that align with their values and responsibilities. This reduces information overload, while allowing for deeper understanding of topics that actually matter to their lives. News consumption minimalism might involve reading one high-quality news source instead of checking multiple sources throughout the day. Focusing on local news that affects your community rather than distant events you can't influence. And choosing weekly or monthly publications over daily news cycles that create artificial urgency. Entertainment minimalism recognizes that not all entertainment provides equal value. Instead of passively consuming whatever algorithms recommend, minimalists choose entertainment that genuinely enriches their lives, supports their values, or provides meaningful relaxation and restoration. This might mean watching fewer but better movies and shows, listening to music that genuinely moves you rather than background noise, playing games that provide real satisfaction rather than mindless time killing, and choosing active entertainment that engages your creativity or physical activity over passive consumption. The practice of digital Sabbaths, regular periods of complete disconnection from digital devices, helps maintain perspective on technology's role in your life. These breaks can be a few hours weekly, one day per week, or longer periodic retreats from digital connectivity. Digital Sabbaths provide space for activities that don't involve screens, face-to-face conversations, physical activities, creative projects, reading physical books, cooking, spending time in nature, or simply being present without digital mediation. These experiences often reveal how much richness exists in non-digital life. Building sustainable digital minimalism requires ongoing maintenance and regular evaluation of your technology choices. Digital tools and platforms constantly evolve. New services emerge, and life circumstances change. Maintaining minimalist practices requires periodic reviews and adjustments to ensure your digital environment. Continue supporting your values and goals. The ultimate goal of digital minimalism is using technology to enhance human flourishing, rather than replacing human experiences with digital substitutes. When successfully implemented, digital minimalism provides more time for meaningful relationships, creative pursuits, physical activities, and deep thinking while still benefiting from genuinely useful technological tools. Chapter 11. Algorithm Resistance Training. Reprogram your feed. Maria noticed something disturbing about her YouTube recommendations. What started as innocent cooking videos had gradually shifted toward extreme diet content, weight loss schemes, and unhealthy body image messaging. She hadn't consciously chosen this direction, but the algorithm had learned that she engaged slightly more with content about weight and appearance, then slowly guided her toward increasingly problematic material. Maria realized she needed to fight back against algorithmic manipulation by actively training the systems to serve her actual interests rather than exploiting her psychological vulnerabilities. Algorithm resistance training involves deliberately manipulating recommendation systems to work in your favor rather than against your well-being. Instead of passively accepting whatever content algorithms serve you, you can actively train these systems to promote positive, educational, and genuinely valuable content while suppressing manipulative, addictive, or harmful material. Understanding how recommendation algorithms learn and adapt is crucial for effective resistance training. These systems analyze every interaction you have with content: what you click, how long you watch, when you pause, what you skip, what you share, and what you search for. They use this behavioral data to predict what will keep you engaged longest, not necessarily what will benefit you most. The key insight for algorithm resistance is that these systems respond to your behavior, not your stated preferences. You might say you want educational content, but if you consistently engage more with entertainment or controversial material, the algorithm will serve more of the latter. Resistance training requires consciously modifying your engagement patterns to guide algorithms toward beneficial content. Active engagement training involves deliberately interacting with content that supports your values and goals, while consciously avoiding engagement with content that exploits your weaknesses. This means liking, sharing, and commenting on educational videos while scrolling past clickbait without clicking. It means watching helpful tutorials to completion while immediately closing manipulative content. The concept of algorithmic pollution describes how negative engagement patterns can contaminate your recommendation feeds with increasingly problematic content. A single click on conspiracy content can lead to weeks of conspiracy recommendations. Watching one sensationalized news video can flood your feed with outrage-inducing content. Understanding this sensitivity helps you avoid accidental pollution. Cleaning polluted algorithms requires sustained effort to retrain the systems through positive engagement patterns. This process can take weeks or months because algorithms weight recent behavior more heavily than distant behavior. But they still maintain long-term behavioral models. Patience and consistency are essential for successful algorithm retraining. Search behavior modification represents one of the most powerful tools for algorithm resistance training. Search engines and platforms use your search history to understand your interests and guide future recommendations. By consciously searching for high-quality, educational content related to your genuine interests, you can train algorithms to surface better material. Strategic searching involves regularly looking up content that represents your ideal information diet. If you want more science content, regularly search for reputable science channels and publications. If you want better financial information, search for established financial educators. These searches signal to algorithms that you value quality content in these areas. The practice of positive engagement flooding involves deliberately engaging with beneficial content to overwhelm negative algorithmic associations. When you notice your feeds becoming polluted with problematic content, you can actively seek out and engage with multiple pieces of high-quality content to reset algorithmic assumptions about your preferences. Negative engagement discipline requires resisting the urge to interact with content that triggers strong emotional responses, but doesn't provide genuine value. Clicking on outrageous headlines to see how bad they are still signals interest to algorithms. Watching terrible content to criticize, it still registers as engagement. Algorithms can't distinguish between hate-watching and genuine interest. The technique of strategic disengagement involves immediately leaving or closing content that exhibits manipulative characteristics, regardless of how compelling it seems in the moment. This includes content with clickbait headlines, artificial urgency, emotional manipulation, or designed to trigger outrage. Quick exits signal to algorithms that this content type doesn't match your preferences. Platform-specific resistance strategies recognize that different platforms use different algorithmic approaches that require tailored resistance techniques. YouTube algorithms respond to watch time and completion rates. Instagram algorithms focus on engagement, timing, and story completion. Understanding platform-specific metrics helps you train each algorithm more effectively. For video platforms, completion rate manipulation can significantly improve recommendation quality. Watching beneficial videos to completion while immediately exiting manipulative content sends clear signals about your preferences. The algorithm learns to associate you with users who value longer form, educational content rather than those who consume quick entertainment. Social media algorithm training requires careful curation of your engagement patterns with posts, accounts, and topics. Following high-quality accounts while unfollowing problematic ones shapes your feed composition. Engaging thoughtfully with meaningful content while ignoring inflammatory posts trains algorithms to show you more substantial material. The practice of algorithmic meditation involves consciously observing your emotional and behavioral responses to different types of content, then making deliberate choices about engagement based on your long-term interests rather than immediate impulses. This mindful approach prevents unconscious engagement patterns that train algorithms poorly. Creating multiple accounts or profiles for different purposes can help maintain algorithmic separation between different aspects of your digital life. A professional account trained for work-related content won't be contaminated by entertainment consumption. A learning account focused on educational content won't be influenced by recreational browsing patterns. Using private browsing modes and logged-out sessions can help you consume content without influencing your algorithmic profile. It allows you to research topics, satisfy curiosity, or explore content without permanently affecting your recommendation systems. However, this approach sacrifices the benefits of well-trained algorithms for important topics. The concept of algorithmic diversification involves actively seeking out content from different perspectives, sources, and viewpoints to prevent algorithm-induced echo chambers. This requires consciously engaging with high-quality content that challenges your existing beliefs or introduces new perspectives on topics you care about. Content source rotation helps prevent algorithmic over-optimization toward specific creators or publishers. If algorithms notice you consistently engage with content from particular sources, they may begin showing you only material from those sources, reducing diversity and potentially creating blind spots in your information diet. Regular algorithmic auditing involves periodically reviewing your recommendation feeds, search suggestions, and targeted advertisements to assess whether algorithms are serving your interests or exploiting your vulnerabilities. This audit helps identify when resistance training is needed and measures the effectiveness of your current strategies. The practice of recommendation rejection involves deliberately choosing content that wasn't algorithmically recommended to maintain autonomy over your information consumption. This might mean manually browsing categories, following direct links from trusted sources, or using recommendation-free discovery methods like libraries or bookstores. Understanding algorithmic feedback loops helps you break negative cycles where poor content leads to more poor content recommendations. These loops can be powerful because algorithms assume that engagement indicates preference, even when engagement is driven by addiction, boredom, or manipulation rather than genuine interest. Collaborative filtering exploitation involves understanding that algorithms also use the behavior of similar users to make recommendations. By training your algorithmic profile to resemble users who consume high-quality content, you can benefit from their positive choices. This means engaging with content that quality-conscious users would choose. The technique of algorithmic time shifting involves consuming content at different times of day to avoid being categorized with users who have poor consumption habits. Algorithms often use timing patterns to group users, so consuming educational content during typical entertainment hours can improve your algorithmic classification. Building resistance to dark pattern algorithms requires recognizing when platforms are using psychological manipulation techniques to override your conscious choices. This includes infinite scroll, autoplay, fear of missing out messaging, and artificial urgency. Developing conscious responses to these techniques prevents them from undermining your training efforts. Long-term algorithm resistance requires understanding that these systems are constantly evolving and adapting. What works today may not work tomorrow as platforms update their algorithms. Maintaining effective resistance requires staying informed about algorithmic changes and adapting your strategies accordingly. The ultimate goal of algorithm resistance training is not to completely avoid algorithmic recommendations, but to ensure that these powerful systems work in service of your authentic interests and long-term well-being rather than exploiting your psychological vulnerabilities for corporate profit. Successfully trained algorithms can become valuable tools for discovering high-quality content and learning opportunities. Effective algorithm resistance training requires patience, consistency, and conscious effort. But the results include dramatically improved content quality, reduced exposure to manipulative material, better information sources, and recommendation systems that genuinely serve your interests rather than undermining your well-being and autonomy. Chapter 12. Digital Freedom Protocol, your 30-day liberation plan. After 11 chapters of understanding how digital systems manipulate your psychology, you now possess the knowledge needed to reclaim control over your digital life. But knowledge without action remains powerless. This final chapter provides a concrete, step-by-step protocol for implementing everything you've learned into a comprehensive 30-day transformation plan that will establish your digital freedom and maintain it long-term. Digital freedom doesn't mean rejecting technology or living disconnected from the modern world. Instead, it means becoming the conscious architect of your digital environment rather than a passive victim of algorithmic manipulation. Digital freedom is the ability to use technology intentionally to enhance your life while protecting yourself from systems designed to exploit your psychology for profit. The 30-day Digital Freedom Protocol is structured in 4 phases: assessment and preparation, digital detox and reset, intentional reintegration and optimization, and maintenance. Each phase builds upon the previous one, creating sustainable changes that compound over time. Week 1 focuses on comprehensive assessment of your current digital habits and preparation for transformation. Day 1 requires conducting a complete digital audit, documenting every app, account, subscription, and notification source in your digital environment. Use screen time tracking tools to gather objective data about your actual usage patterns versus your perceived habits. Day 2 involves identifying your core values and life priorities. Then, evaluating how your current digital consumption either supports or conflicts with these fundamental goals. This values-based assessment provides the criteria for making decisions about which technologies serve your authentic interests versus those that exploit your psychological vulnerabilities. Day 3 requires mapping your digital triggers and vulnerable moments. Notice when you reach for devices impulsively, what emotions drive compulsive checking behaviors, and which platforms consistently leave you feeling worse rather than better. Understanding your specific vulnerabilities helps you design targeted defenses. Day 4 focuses on analyzing your algorithmic feeds and recommendation systems. Document what types of content currently dominate your social media feeds: video recommendations, news sources, and targeted advertisements. This analysis reveals how algorithms currently perceive and target your psychological profile. Day 5 involves setting clear intentions and goals for your digital transformation. Define specifically what you want your digital life to look like after 30 days. What do you want to spend more time doing? What digital habits do you want to eliminate? What new boundaries do you want to establish? Day 6 requires preparing your environment and tools for the upcoming detox period. Set up website blockers. Download alternative apps that support your goals. Inform family and friends about your digital boundaries. And create physical spaces that support focused work and relaxation without digital distractions. Day 7 involves conducting a baseline assessment of your mental and physical well-being before beginning the transformation. Note your current sleep quality, stress levels, ability to concentrate, anxiety patterns, and overall life satisfaction. This baseline helps you measure the benefits of digital freedom as they develop. Week 2 implements a strategic digital detox designed to break problematic usage patterns and reset your relationship with technology. This isn't about complete disconnection, but about eliminating non-essential digital inputs while maintaining necessary functionality for work and important communications. Day 8 begins the detox by removing all social media apps from your devices, logging out of entertainment platforms, and turning off all non-essential notifications. Maintain only the digital tools absolutely necessary for work and critical communications. Notice any anxiety, urges, or withdrawal symptoms that arise. Day 9 focuses on replacing digital habits with offline alternatives. When you feel the urge to check social media, go for a walk instead. When you want to watch videos, read a physical book. When you're bored, engage in creative activities or face-to-face conversations. This builds new neural pathways around fulfillment and entertainment. Day 10 involves practicing sustained attention without digital interruption. Choose a challenging but engaging task and work on it for increasingly longer periods without checking devices. This rebuilds your capacity for deep focus and demonstrates how much more you can accomplish without constant digital fragmentation. Day 11 emphasizes reconnecting with physical and social experiences that don't involve screens. Spend time in nature, engage in physical activities, have lengthy conversations with people you care about, or pursue hobbies that use your hands and body rather than just your eyes and fingers. Day 12 requires reflecting on the changes you've already noticed during the detox period. How is your sleep? Your anxiety levels? Your ability to concentrate? Your relationships? Your productivity? Document these observations to reinforce the benefits of reduced digital consumption. Day 13 involves experimenting with analog alternatives to digital tools. Use a physical alarm clock instead of your phone. Write in a paper journal instead of digital notes. Read physical books instead of screens, and listen to radio instead of algorithmic music recommendations. Day 14 completes the detox phase by conducting a comprehensive review of what you've learned about yourself and your relationship with technology. What digital habits were harder to break than expected? What offline activities provided more satisfaction than anticipated? What do you miss least about constant connectivity? Week 3 focuses on intentional reintegration of digital tools based on clear criteria and strong boundaries. This phase prevents the common mistake of returning to old patterns after experiencing the benefits of digital minimalism. Day 15 begins reintegration by choosing only the most valuable digital tools to reintroduce into your life. Use your values assessment from week 1 to determine which platforms, apps, and services truly support your important goals. Reintroduce these tools one at a time with specific usage rules and time limits. Day 16 involves implementing algorithm resistance training for any platforms you choose to use again. Actively engage with high-quality content while avoiding clickbait and manipulative material. Train recommendation systems to serve your authentic interests rather than exploiting your psychological vulnerabilities. Day 17 focuses on establishing strong boundaries around when, where, and how you use digital tools. Create phone-free zones in your home. Establish specific times for checking messages and social media. And use technical tools like app timers and website blockers to enforce these boundaries. Day 18 emphasizes building sustainable information consumption habits. Choose high-quality news sources over constant updates. Focus on depth over breadth in your learning, and practice the slow information principles you learned earlier to avoid information overload. Day 19 involves optimizing your digital environment to support your goals rather than undermine them. Organize your devices to make beneficial activities easy and harmful activities difficult. Put educational apps on your home screen while burying time-wasting apps in hard storage folders. Day 20 requires implementing the mental firewall techniques to protect yourself from future manipulation attempts. Practice recognizing emotional manipulation, urgency-based marketing, and other psychological influence techniques so you can respond consciously rather than reactively. Day 21 concludes the reintegration phase by establishing systems for ongoing maintenance of your digital boundaries. This includes regular digital audits, periodic detox periods, and accountability systems that help you maintain your new habits long-term. Week 4 optimizes your digital freedom practices and establishes long-term maintenance systems that ensure your transformation remains sustainable over months and years. Day 22 involves fine-tuning your digital boundaries based on what you've learned during reintegration. Adjust time limits, modify notification settings, and refine your app selection based on actual usage patterns and their effects on your well-being. Day 23 focuses on building positive digital habits that actively support your goals and values. This might include using productivity apps that genuinely help you accomplish important tasks, learning platforms that develop valuable skills, or communication tools that strengthen important relationships. Day 24 emphasizes creating accountability systems that help maintain your digital freedom over time. This might involve regular check-ins with friends or family, periodic usage reviews, or automatic systems that enforce your boundaries when willpower alone isn't sufficient. Day 25 involves planning for challenging situations and potential relapses. How will you handle social pressure to use certain platforms? What will you do during boring or stressful periods when you're tempted to return to old digital habits? Having prepared responses prevents temporary setbacks from becoming permanent reversions. Day 26 requires establishing ongoing education about digital psychology and algorithmic manipulation. These systems evolve constantly, so maintaining your freedom requires staying informed about new manipulation techniques and developing countermeasures accordingly. Day 27 focuses on sharing your knowledge and experience with others who might benefit from digital freedom. Teaching others reinforces your own understanding while helping create a community of people who prioritize psychological autonomy over digital convenience. Day 28 involves conducting a comprehensive assessment of your transformation over the past month. Compare your current sleep, stress, focus, relationships, and life satisfaction to your baseline measurements from Day 7. Document the concrete benefits of digital freedom. Day 29 emphasizes planning for continued growth and optimization beyond the initial 30-day period. Digital freedom is an ongoing practice rather than a destination, so establishing systems for continuous improvement ensures long-term success. Day 30 concludes the protocol by celebrating your achievement and committing to ongoing digital consciousness. You've successfully reclaimed control over your attention, emotions, and behavior from systems designed to exploit them. This accomplishment deserves recognition and provides the foundation for a lifetime of intentional technology use. The 30-day Digital Freedom Protocol provides the structure and guidance needed to transform your relationship with technology from unconscious consumption to conscious choice. By following this systematic approach, you join the growing number of people who refuse to let their minds be controlled by algorithms designed to profit from psychological manipulation. Your digital freedom is not just a personal victory, it's a contribution to a more conscious, intentional, and psychologically sovereign society where technology serves human flourishing rather than replacing it with artificial substitutes designed to generate corporate profit.